let's get on to tonight's theme. So if you try to picture how life looked before social media, it may not be entirely impossible, seeing as most of us, not counting Generation Z, actually lived, at least for a while, a simpler Facebook and Instagram-free life. But it certainly is hard. So social media plays a huge and perhaps crucial role in our everyday lives. And a recent survey conducted in the United States showed that the average American checks their phones approximately every 10 minutes, which means they check their phones more than 90 times a day. The average 8 hours of sleep was excluded. So social media has allowed us to connect with each other, to share moments from our lives that made us happy or the moments that we want to remember. It's helped us to stay informed with what's going on in the world. And even then, when I say the world, most people are still restricted. We believe we're seeing what's going on in the world. But typically, if you look at how we use our social media, we're getting a hell of a lot of local stuff from our friends. And the stuff that is worldwide, 70% of it is memes and jokes. And then you get the odd, feel-good, uplifting story. And then the odd, like horror story and so on. And that's us in touch with the world. So really, I think we're not in touch with the world with Facebook as much as we claim to be, or with social media in general. And social media allows us to stay in touch with our childhood friends that may have moved abroad, or to stay in touch with the new friends that we met abroad. However, I think it would be naive to think that something so groundbreaking and of such essential meaning to us can come without its dark side. So, before I start on the social media stuff, I want to talk a little bit about how our data in general is being misused. For instance, the GCHQ, they've participated in intelligence alliances such as Five Eyes, and I don't even know what Five Eyes is, but that comprises of Australia, Canada, New Zealand, United States and United Kingdom, and they have a focus on intercepting electronic communications. In 2013, there were steady reports by the media of mass surveillance in the United Kingdom, with collaborations with the United States National Security Agency, NSA, and laws made by the UK Parliamentary Control for Electronic Communications. That means that to gain access to private messages, for example, that one would need to have a warrant signed by the Secretary of State, and they're also bound by European laws about privacy and privacy breaches. However, it's easy for them to request users' data or access to the data. Plus, the biggest loophole, as I see it, is not having to actually access our data, but to create new data inferred from our data. And I imagine that wouldn't require the access controls. And let me explain that briefly. Facebook and other corporations, they claim that they don't sell our data. And this is likely true in some aspects, as they would be only selling what was inferred. And as a case in point, I downloaded all my Facebook data recently, and I'd imagine they could build a picture of whom they think I am pretty easily, and many companies would be interested in buying that data. But what I saw were lots of holes in it, and the picture that I had of all my data on Facebook wasn't so. And the things that are not my data, me clicking on links to other websites or sharing stuff, which wasn't mine, where I didn't actually upload a picture. So they gave me all my stuff back, which was about 9 gigabytes of data. And I've been through it and found amazing stuff. I write some really good stuff on my statuses. Right, that's what I got from it. And I realised I can write a book on there, to be honest. And but what they do is they see the people I'm talking to, the things I've liked, the places I've visited, the things I've commented on, the words I've used, and they can build a profile of me. So when we say like Facebook is using our data, and they go, no, we're not, or selling our data, they're not actually selling it. I mean, they are, don't get me wrong, but maybe not as much as we think and not in the way that we think. For instance, you come to my website, and I see you're always clicking on the Chelsea football team pictures, and you're always clicking on the sports cars, and you belong to the groups that talk about physics and so on. And quickly I start building a picture up of you, and then I start looking at the words you're using and reading your words. Still your data, you can have it back. I'm not selling it to anyone. And then from that I can infer, and I can get a picture of this football-loving Chelsea supporter that loves science and, is on Facebook for like 2 hours every single day without fail between like 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock, which means, I can build up a profile. This person likely works full-time, goes to work, comes home, prepares something to eat, and then as soon as they're free, they get on the internet. Now, imagine having 1 million data points about that one person. You could build up a perfect picture. You can know when they're going to work, what time they're likely to be home, and you can start having these guesses. And big companies are interested in this data. They'll want to buy that straight away. And it's not really for our benefits a lot of the time. It's just that they can sell us stuff. They want to know who we are so they can sell us stuff. And the world's hell-bent out of shape with consumerism. So that data is worth, its weight in gold. I don't know if data's got any weight, but I think I sort of read something once when they done a test on, a million words and how much it would weigh or something like that. So anyway, back to the good stuff. In 2011, there was around 1.85 million CCTV cameras in the United Kingdom recorded by CCTV Image magazine, with a vast majority belonging to the privately owned businesses. And this reminds me of the Panopticon, and this was an idea popularised by Jeremy Bentham, who was the founder of utilitarianism I talked about earlier. And Bentham spent most of his time and his fortune on designs for the Panopticon. And the Panopticon is an all-seeing prison, and it was designed to allow round-the-clock surveillance of the inmates by their superintendent. And Bentham's intention was humanitarian, but penitentiaries are not the best advertisement for a utilitarian ethic. So the basic setup of his Panopticon is that there's a central tower, and it's surrounded by all the cells. And in the central tower is a watchman, and in the cells are prisoners or workers or even children. And depending on the use of the building, the tower shines bright lights so the watchman can see everyone in their cells. And the people in the cells, however, aren't able to see the watchman, and therefore they have to assume that they're always under observation. And in more modern ideas for the Panopticon, instead of having lights shining, you just have mirrored windows, so the inmates can't see inwards, but they know that they can be watched from the outwards. And that modifies their behaviour because they feel that they're always being watched. So that's the idea of it anyway. And this actually draws some parallels to a city that is under constant surveillance from CCTV. And in a lesser form, as I see it, digital surveillance, which is also a little more insidious. And with the growth in devices that monitor our bodily functions, we're also giving away biometric data and selling our bodies along with our minds. And as an aside, Jeremy Bentham actually did receive funding from the Prime Minister, who was William Pitt at the time, to construct the Panopticon, but many problems led to the project being abandoned. And I'll be sharing some ways how social media modifies our behaviour, and as many of you probably will know, not all of them are positive. So let's talk about them. So, how social media modifies our behaviour. Straight off the bat, it modifies our self-esteem, because being constantly exposed to the most Instagrammable parts of our lives, of people that we don't even know, is an actual challenge. And it creates this false image that other people's lives are absolutely perfect. They have it all together, and often they receive lots of likes, and it points to our way of lives, or we think it does, as being the opposite of that. And it's downright exhausting. And half of the time, we probably aren't even aware that this is happening. And this constant unhealthy comparison is reflecting very poorly on people's self-esteem, as it keeps reminding people that there are other people out there their own age who are doing better than them. Social media is in many ways imposing this fake race, and weirdly enough, the vast majority of people who use any of the main platforms feel like they're falling way behind everyone else. And it's hard to feel good about yourself and where your life is right now when you have Instagram showing you that more than 90 times a day and hundreds of times a day perfectly filtered lives. Anglophile, I like it, that's me. Hello Angela, hello Karen, hello Maria Smith, Boros. I always say your name in full because it's got 3 words there. David Edwards, Maximus, and Chris. Oh, my kid fell. Sorry about it, I'm not laughing at your kid fell, but it just seemed like an odd comment to see out of the blue there. So yeah, have anyone got any comments when they want to talk about social media and how, I've got more points coming, but about how other people's lives are reflected to us. And we think that they're always doing better than us. People don't just put a picture of themselves up with uncombed hair. I know some of you do, there are exceptions and so on. But, every time you see a picture of someone, it's that perfect moment. And, the big fake smile. I've posted some myself. And And some for experimentation, it's typically a witty comment with them, but some of them, I thought, well, I look good today, and then I've posted a picture, and then someone may assume that's my life all the time, and it's not, it's that moment in my life. I am happy most of the time, I'm content most of the time anyway, as I always explain. But, they've got this glass of wine at the bar, and I've spoken about this before, and it's like, yeah, life's great. And it's like, no, this is a moment in your life, and people forget that. I see people have got their new shoes on, new dresses, new trousers, new hats, new clothes, new stance, and it really has a negative effect. Hello, Brenda. Hello, Stephen. So, Maximus Rose, what did you say? Cautiousness. So you be, if you want to expand on that, go ahead. But you talk about being cautious and how you present yourself on social media because of the appearance of everyone else. And I'll move on to the second point. We're also in constant need of other people's approval. Social media platforms have enabled a whole new world where people are dressing, talking, standing, eating, and basically becoming what they think their followers will approve of and what will eventually get them the most engagement. The likes and the comments are only there, really for people to say they appreciate it. And when people get hundreds and hundreds of them, it seems to validate their existence. It also seems to be proof that that person is important. And thousands of people admit, and many of you would probably agree, that not receiving enough likes on a photo has usually made them feel like they don't matter or it didn't quite pull it off. And it's almost like society has rejected them and they're not worthy. And that may sound like more than it seems. You may think, no, it's not that bad, but it really does have an effect. And for some of us older people, we have to remember we were young once, and we were affected by certain social aspects of our lives. And it's hard for us to remember and put ourselves in that position. So imagine now if you are 15, 13, 17, even 25, 30 years old, and because everyone over 40 is brilliant, and suddenly you've got all this pressure. And for us, we had the pressure in one spot, like you had it around you and maybe in the school playground with those friends, maybe down the pub, maybe at your workplace, and that was it. But these people are hit with a barrage of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of impressions every day. And, it will affect them. Thanks for that, Maximus. You're saying how people perceive things. Yeah, I understand fully. But you felt the effects of that once. Yeah, I'm very good, Stephen, by the way. Tony, it does get people anxious, and it's really funny. A lot of the younger people I talk to, my younger friends, they claim that they suffer from anxiety, and it's like, no, that's the feeling you get. That's all, but you're not suffering from anything. You're holding on to something, and you shouldn't. Go outside a bit more often and play. I'll talk about this actually, and I mean play, whatever age you are, because what happens is as we get older, we keep putting these rules in place that we mustn't play and we don't play anymore and so on. And I think it's important to play. Now, people like my friend here, Tony, he plays, and when I say plays, he's a serious bloke. He's got a life and a dog to look after, but we met on the underground illegal party scene in London because we go out and make sure we play still. We go out and do it. We dance a little. We hang around. We make fires in the yard at the parties, when it's cold, even in the summer sometimes, to be honest. And make sure that we get that kind of social interaction. And kids are missing, a lot of that. But I'll come on to that again. And as Maximus says, especially with DJing, anxiety is a natural feeling. I get the same, even for this show. As I'm setting up, I'm like, right. And if you've been following the shows with your hair for any length of time, I think you can appreciate that I do a non-stop delivery this stream, and it seems like I'm, Mr. Confident. But every time the show finishes, I'm like that, and I think, I hope I've done that well. Because sometimes, and I think you'll understand this, people here who perform, and you'll get it, understand it, Max. You put that first track on, and there's all these people, they're not even dancing yet, or worse, they're dancing to the DJ before you, who's got, a bit of a name for himself. And then suddenly you're like, am I good enough? Will this be good enough? And then you start, and you're modifying your behaviour as you go along. You see a sudden change in the dynamics, or you feel there is. And I get that here. I may see there's 5 people watching the show, suddenly it drops to 2, and then it goes to 12, and and you get a bit anxious. And I'm computing all the time, and maybe trying to alter my delivery a bit and so on. I'm moving closer towards just being who I am and delivering as I think is fit, and that gives me more power. And then when I review the show afterwards, because I have to edit it, I always just go, that was okay, there was no problem there. So it's a feeling of anxiety, but I won't hold on to that and say, I'm an anxious person, I suffer from anxiety. because then I create that and I become an anxious person because I believe I'm one. So you young people who are listening, take that on board. So let me just have a quick break.
You not heard of the OBG? Big people talk, man. You need to get involved. You might even catch a blessing.
Okay, so as one of my friends pointed out, my button clicking is really loud, and I need an assistant. I need someone to sit in the control room and be pressing buttons, but that's going to come in the future. So the next point I want to make is that social media actually modifies human interaction with each other, and that's one of the big obvious changes. Most social media platforms were originally created with the intention to provide people from all corners of the world, see what I did there, with a chance for them to connect with each other through mutual interests, their experiences, memories, and to share with each other what they love, what made their days, what to talk about, to stay in each other's lives, even when they were, had quite a distance between them. However, while serving that purpose, social media changed how we interact with each other in an essential and not so positive way. What used to be long face-to-face coffee dates and talks with friends, now it's a video call or a text, and what was previously a loud laughter face to face over a hilarious joke is now replaced with a lol or LOL and combined with your face and your movements, we create this humanness, this thing that we love about other people and the art of communication. And people used to actually network by going to an event where they could practice their social skills, and it is practice, even though you don't have that at the forefront of your mind going to practice. The more people you meet and the more events that you go to, and then the more you increase your social communication skills. And that's really important for us humans as an intelligent species. And now people, they network in comments or in Facebook groups. And instead of connecting and staying social, as the name itself suggests, the platform seems to make more people feel isolated and less able to interact with people in person. And hundreds of people now claim that they find it extremely hard to communicate their thoughts when they're in an actual face-to-face conversation. And social media provides no genuine feedback, so people think they're funnier than they are. And this is one of the things that grates me also. And this is also, in my view, a distinct lack of ability from that person and a fear of revealing that they don't actually know much. Especially the thickies, I'll call them that. I've got names for everybody. Fight me. So, I'm not bashing women, but in my experience, at least stupid men are vocal and they can be corrected or ignored. But some of the prettiest women I know are the thickest human beings I've ever met. They post pretty pictures of themselves all day long and try to be funny in comments. But when you meet them face to face, the communication skills are really there. And they stay silent a lot in case they say the wrong thing. So, those are just the things that we do. This is what we do. This is what we create on social media. But our behaviours are also controlled by the platforms that we use. And I'll be doing an in-depth show on how behaviour modification is run in our lives as individuals and as groups. So, do look out for that. And social media, it also modifies our behaviour and reflects poorly on the quality of our lives. And while nobody expects us or wants us to stop using social media altogether, there's still many approaches that you can take to alter the negative effect of your favourite social media platform in your life. And it's important that you become more mindful of how and when you're using social media and disciplining yourself to using it to maybe a couple of times a day. So I'll be talking more about this in the future show. I'll go into detail on the surveillance state, and because I'm someone who doesn't just like chatting about stuff and not doing anything about it, I'll be putting forward some proposals as to how you can maybe just enrich your life a little bit by cutting out the social media just that tiny bit and seeing how much it makes a difference. So hello Ray, hello Shana. Cambridge Analytical, they're the ones that are in the public eye, but there's much, much worse than that. I've talked about Israel on Sunday's show, very briefly, just so that they've got factories over there, pumping out stuff. But they've got a company called NSO, and they're the one that make that hardcore software, which is almost undetectable, that you can just throw on people's phones and take all their data. And it's just all the big companies are at it. But as I said earlier, it's about inferring who we are rather than actually selling our data all the time. So for the people who've just come on board, it's just to say that all the things that you look at, all the things you click on that you like, all the people you talk to, all the information you share, Facebook doesn't necessarily have to use your data. They can infer who you are from the things that you're doing. And if you do ask for your data back, obviously they want to keep it, but they'll give you your data back, and you realise, wow, there's a lot of holes in there, because I took mine back. I'm still on Facebook, but you can download it. They have to do that by law now. And it's amazing how much it builds up. I'm looking at stuff and thinking, Jesus Christ, I clicked on that and that and that, and I spoke about this, and I did this, I reacted to this, and so on. And it builds up a really amazing picture of who you are. I put a hell of a lot of fake data into my way of using the internet. And I talked about this before, and I recommend it to everyone. Just join a crochet group, join a gardening group, write a few comments in there, get stuff back from them, do some feedback and so on, and just build this fake image. And the reason for doing that, I like to think, is just because it builds a false image of you, and you kind of feel a little bit secure in yourself. The only problem is you start getting gardening adverts and crochet adverts, but that's fun. And I'll talk more detail on this in the surveillance episode as well, about switching off all your Google and Facebook flags, which you can do. Go through your settings and switch them off. It would horrify you to know what they've got on you. It absolutely would. I mean, I read people's data just from their responses and how they interact with me on here, and it's something I've done all my life and set out deliberately to do. But imagine having like tens of thousands of data points on someone. It's really, really scary. So, yeah, fake date of birth, anything like that. It's, I'm actually talking about the date of birth. I talked about the name and illegal fiction on a live show, I think that was on Thursday last week. If you're interested, have a look at that. It explains about the birth certificate and that. And apparently, if you belong to their system, if you give a fake name or date of birth on legal documents and so on, then you can actually be accosted for it. I don't know about arrested, but it's a problem for you. It's meant to be illegal, but you can use a fake name. You don't ever have to use any real name or a name that they assign to you and so on. Lucy Lockett, I don't know what that is. But I pretend I'm from Poland on my profile, so I get these T-shirts of someone, raised in Poland, or Poland is so great, and Polish events that happen, which I don't mind, because I've got accounts in several countries under several different names and stuff like that, and it's quite brilliant for me, because what it does, it allows me to see how the world's working on quite a scale. I had lots of accounts at one time, but they're too much to maintain. But the beauty of it is, for instance, like you can see Nips in Georgia. So I got that from a porn feed. No, I mean, just to say, like, I feel that these people have more freedom on that level. But then I look at the way that their government is and the country's run, and this isn't about Georgia in particular, but other countries, and you think, I don't know, do you know what I mean? They've got a hard government now and a really hardcore, like, fascist police force. Like all countries, all police forces are fascist. I don't know when any of that are different, to be honest. But you can get this view of the world by having different accounts in different countries, and I'd recommend it to everybody. I'd say have 3 accounts at least. Do one in United States and start communicating with people. Do one in a country which is really diverse for you, like Norway, or come further over to like East Europe, somewhere like that, or go to China and create an account there. Hong Kong, people speak English. You'll find really hell of a lot of English speaking people in short time, and then you start getting an idea of how other people live. But one thing that you get from having many fake accounts is that you get a bit paranoid that there is a ministry of misinformation. And I say that because sometimes I live in different countries, or I sleep with my body flow, the way my body flows. So like I may be doing night shifts or day shifts sometimes. Like at the moment, I'm going to bed at 6, 7 in the morning, and I'm waking up like in the afternoon. And you start seeing all the early posts coming from different countries while the English are in bed and so on. And then I think to myself, wow, this is the post of the day. This is that Ave Maria thing that going for everyone's PM. This is a post about Israel. This is a post about, like the funny post of the day, the funny meme. And everyone's posting it in India, Russia, and Spain for some reason. And then England wakes up, and boom, for sure, everyone in England's posting it now. And it may just be the way things move. That's what a meme is, a mimetic. But then suddenly you think to yourself, wow, let me have a look over in Georgia. Let me have a look over in the United States. Let me have a look over in Norway. And then you realise, you know what, we keep claiming that we're learning, but the whole world today is sharing these 10 pictures. And I know there's more, don't get me wrong, you're doing other stuff, but in the main we're just passing these memes around and listening to the same news and so on. And we're not really expanding our minds and elevating ourselves.
There's a man who contradicts Wait, is it type of guy to you? There's no first place, but he's part of a race. Eyes alive, but take a look inside.